Hello, my name is Guilherme and I help project managers and I help engineers to be high performing project managers. Today I'm going to talk about Waterfall and Agile. Well, this week I was, of course, always following project management news, project management information, and reading about it. This week I saw something that really caught my attention. It was a post talking about tailoring and how was impossible to tailor a project with waterfall and agile. In this case, they were looking mainly to Scrum, saying that waterfall and agile they were antagonics. That it's impossible. They cannot go together because they are complete opposites in the spectrum. That, of course, it got me thinking. Well, if you look for the frameworks, waterfall and agile, and of course they are different and they have their difference, uh, like how you're going to collect requirements, how you're going to change your scope, how you're going to execute those requirements in the project, and so on. So then, of course, there's a lot of difference. But then I start to think uh, about saying that the waterfall and agile they are antagonics. Well, my perspective first, uh, they are not antagonics, and I'm going to explain to you why. First of all, if you're looking what's the triple C constraint of any project when you talk about scope, time, and cost, this is valid for waterfall and this is valid for agile. 100%. Of course, they have different ways to deal with that. That's true. But the triple C constraint it's also valid also for waterfall and also for agile. Of course, very simple. If you're executing a project, if you're following a Scrum as a framework, and you keep adding items in the backlog, and of course, then you have prioritization by the product owner, you have sprint plannings, and so on. What's going to happen? You're not going to be able to include all the requirements or all the backlog that you have in your first release. Then you're going to plan for a second release, which means that if you're changing your scope, you are changing your timeline. But of course, if you are having multiple releases, that means that you are going to have a team working longer for a project. If the team is working longer to execute a project following Scrum, what's going to happen? You are going to move your timeline, but you're also going to increase your budget, or you are going to need more money to keep these people working for the project. So, uh, yes, Scrum looks for requirements in a different way that you are going to look if you're executing a waterfall project. But why is that possible? The triplicy constraint is the same, yes, but the boundary conditions for waterfall works and for Scrum to work, they're different. And the types of projects and everything else. So from that perspective, saying that projects are antagonics, waterfall and agile, and even in this case Scrum, I do not make sense in my perspective. So I start to think about what what do you really need to succeed in a project? Of course, you need the project management knowledge and everything else, but you need first to have a good team. Then, for having a good team, what you are going to need? You need to have a good team environment. You need to develop the right team culture. That you also the team members need to trust each other. They need to have courage to step up and all the other things that you can see on the Scrum guide, also as principles of Scrum, but also when you look for the PM Box 7 edition, they're also there because it does not matter if you're executing a framework, a Scrum framework, it does not matter if you're doing waterfall. If you want to have a high performing team, those values and this type of culture, it needs to be there regardless of what you're doing. because then I always think, because this post was specifically was from someone that only worked with software. Then I always think, how this person think that a waterfall project is executed. That you think that a pretty project manager just sit there in a throne, the IRL throne every day and say, that's what you should do it, and call all the shots for everyone. Guys, that's insane. That does not work. That does not exist. If you want to work in a high performing team, whatever the framework that you need to do, you need to have a set a set common a set of values, and there they need to be common values, and you need to develop the culture in the team, which is respect, courage, trust, uh, ownership. Like, it's not even possible to think about executing a project without thinking, because that does not even cross my mind. And I've seen a lot of projects, and I've seen a lot of waterfall projects in a lot of companies, different companies, industries, countries, you name it. And every time I see a high performing team, this set of values, they are there. This kind type of team culture is there. So the team culture to have a waterfall high performing team, it's the same team culture that you need to have for a Scrum high performing team. Of course, here again, if you're using Waterfall and Agile, I'm talking about culture of the team. If you want also to make sure that the general framework succeeds in the organization, you need another boundary conditions. Then you can look for the culture of the organization, for the culture of the leadership of the organization, and so on. That's of course, and those constraints and those boundary conditions can differ a lot if you are looking for a waterfall for a Scrum. That part I agree. But in the team, the core team itself, this needs to be there. Otherwise, it does not work. So, saying that team wise, you should be very different from a waterfall execution, for a Scrum execution, it's a bit of insane. You need the same values and you need the same culture. Of course, it might change it because you might not going to do the sprint. You might have more roles, because in Scrum you just have three roles. That's product owner, Scrum master, and the developers, according to the Scrum guide. And if you're working for a waterfall project, you can have several other functions in the team: project manager, procurement, or buyer, whatever you want to call it. You can have quality, you can have a design engineer, a process engineer, an account manager, and several other things that can go around it. But again, the set of values and the culture needs to be the same if you want to have a high performing team. So it cannot be antagonic looking for a waterfall and a Scrum perspective when you are looking for simply how you are going to develop a good team. This is the same. Again, Scrum Guide has a lot of merit because it starts to focus on those values in the culture of the team. Uh, since the beginning, while still PMBOK was only talking about the general processes to execute a waterfall project. And of course, even there, that was reading that you need leadership, that you need teamwork, but this was not the main focus there, or was not like really with a lot of attention there. But I can tell you, if you ever been in a project management training, you are going to hear talking about leadership. You are going to hear people talking about teamwork. And anything that you study on teamwork, leadership, you can end up finding those core values that they are always there. And it's not something that you're going to basically take it off and then it's going to work and then say, now I'm going to be a waterfall. Guys, do as I say, I command you. That does not exist. Even in the army, that does not work like that. That's an entire different discussion. And then, of course, then I kept thinking, well, if Policy constraints the same for waterfall and agile. There's a different approach how you're going to tackle this and how you're going to how you're going to execute a project based on different boundary conditions. Yes, but the constraint is the same. To develop a team, the the set of values and the culture of the team that you need to foster, they're basically the same. Then let's think about leadership. In the Scrum Guide, the last update, they talk about a true leader. Of course, if you look for previous versions, they were talking about servant leadership. Well, what do you think you need to be to also to be able to start to develop a high performing team, and how you're going to develop yourself if you want to grow your career, grow your organization? Do you want to do you think that because you're not using Scrum, you're not a true leader? And again, there's all types of leaders, all types, there's very different types of leadership. Some of them I would not say you can even call leadership. And there's good leaders and bad leaders. And you can find good leaders and bad leaders working waterfall, and you can find good leaders and bad leaders working with Scrum. So the difference here, it's not a framework. But again, if you look for the leadership principles there, you're going to start to see a lot of commonalities. You can study different books, you can study philosophy and whatever. You're going to find a lot of commonalities of what you need to go there, like taking ownership for your actions, focusing on what you can control, emotion, intelligence, all those things that you need to work on to be a good leader. Guess what? You need to work on if you want to work with Waterfall, you need to work on if you need to work with Scrum. You're not going to have a very completely different say, now I'm a leader with here working with Waterfall. How a Waterfall leader works. I'm saying do that, do that, do that. Nope, does not work. And this, if you say, I'm a servant leader, I'm a nice guy, and then I just work with Scrum. No, you're going to be able to find good leaders and bad leaders in both. So again, I cannot see Waterfall and Agile as antagonics in that perspective. Because if you say, yeah, you have the same triple C constraint. You need to focus on the same values and same culture to develop your team. You need to focus on the same principles to develop your leadership. So I do not see there as antagonics. And then following still a bit more on my line of thought, say, what's the goal of every project? The goal of every project is delivering value. So your job as a project manager or a product owner or a scrum master is delivering value. In reality, in any type of position you're there, your goal is delivering value. You are there to solve a problem. And if you solve this problem, you are delivering value for the company. And you need to deliver more value that you earn, because then the company can profit over your work. Otherwise, the company will not keep you there. So whatever you're doing there, your goal is to deliver value. So, and here, delivering value, the company does not care at all what's your framework. What the company cares, if you can deliver value. If you say, I have a way I can deliver even more value, then that's something the company will be interested. And sometimes using Scrum, you are delivering much more value that you could try to deliver with the waterfall. But looking different perspective here, because I see a lot of people talking about Scrum, Agile, but then you forget there's a huge amount of projects, a lot of different industries. There's a lot of different boundary conditions out there, like executing uh, Building a bridge with sprint, that's difficult. Creating a foundation incrementally, that's difficult. How you're going to say, concrete everything, then, oh, wait a bit, for the next iteration, we need to improve this and this and that. Yeah, okay. Take everything away, break everything down, and start doing again. So understanding those constraints, it's very important. And of course, I know that if you have just if you're looking for a specific industry like IT, I can understand why it's Scrum is the most used framework. And I can understand that Agile brings much more value for that, because that's something that's it's difficult to collect requirements up front. It's difficult to have a clear image because you cannot imagine how a software would work. You cannot imagine the code, or at least most of people cannot. It's difficult to get really user requirements if, without the user trying something and say, oh, but that's not exactly what I mean. Then you have a lot of challenges that sometimes you do not have, like if you're building something with a construction, because you can show a picture of a house for someone that's very concrete. They can see, oh, I like it or do not. But if you say, show a picture of the code of the software, people will just look, whatever. I don't know what does that mean. So I get it why Scrum and Agile, they are so important when you are talking about software development, IT. And I believe that it's important also how you can understand those frameworks and to look for value that you can implement as much as possible in everything you do. Because again, your goal and your focus is delivering value. So under that perspective, Scrum and Waterfall, they are the same. Scrum and Agile, they are the same. Why? Because does not matter the framework. You are there to deliver the value for the company. You are not there to use a specific framework. Like the framework, it's a mean to an end. You can have a very nice Scrum, follow all the rhythms, have all the roles, saying I'm doing my sprint planning, I'm doing my daily Scrum, I'm doing my sprint retrospective, I'm doing my sprint reviews, I have my backlog and so on. But in the end, I'm not delivering the value for the organization, for the customer. Forget about Scrum. And again, if you look, if you start to study what's in the Scrum guide, if you start to study what's in the uh, all all the different frameworks, it's also there saying that part of understanding is to make sure that you are delivering the value with Scrum, because Scrum does not exist to be executed because you are executed. This is a very common, this is also a pitfall, and also happens a lot with our waterfall, where you see people just creating documents and they're preparing and say, but why you're doing that? Yeah, but I'm preparing for an audit, I'm preparing for this, I need to prepare for a gate, and then you have all the paperwork done. But then you ask, what about the project? No, the project was not my priority. I was focusing on, come on, the value is the ultimate goal of any project. So if you start to approach a project to see how I can add value, that's the right step. So again, Scrum and Agile, they cannot be antagonists because they have also the same goal, that's delivering value. True, they have different ways to deliver to try to deliver value, which requires again different boundary conditions in different situations, but the goal is the same. So again, saying for me that is Scrum, like that Agile and Waterfall, they are antagonics, for me it's a bit of insane. The only way of saying that is if you cannot see if you cannot have a broader view in project management. You only are looking for what I'm doing here, do like that, and you forget about the rest of the world. Because it's important when you talk about project management, it's going to be used in aerospace, automotive, uh, construction. It's going to be used software development, but also it's going to be used on HR, product development, and everything that you can imagine out there. There's project management involved in publishing industry, digital marketing, or whatever. All those things they have project management. Then thinking that you have like a tool that can fix everything, like does not make sense. So I every time I see those things, I cannot control myself. I need to make those content talking about that. It's important that you reflect on that. Like, do you want to be a complete project manager? Yes. So you need to learn Waterfall. You need to learn what is Agile. And it's not only that. You need to learn leadership. You learn how to improve your team working skills. You need to learn finance. All those things, they're there. They're part of the project. You cannot just ignore them and keep having this uh, even kind of childish discussion. Say what's better, Waterfall or Agile? The companies don't care. Companies are looking for the value that you can deliver. If you can tell to a company that you can deliver more value using Waterfall, they're going to say, that's what I want. If you can tell a company that for something that you can deliver more value with Scrum, that's what I want. But also understand that there's all types of boundary conditions that will influence the framework that you are working on. And also keep in mind when the goal of the tailoring a project, tailoring a project or framework, is that considering all your boundary conditions, you try to make something that's optimal for a specific situation. Meaning that for some things you might use you can use for different project phases. You can use Scrum for like a design phase, but then you can use, for example, Waterfall, for example, during the execution phase, if you're talking about construction, if you are talking about industrialization. And again, thinking that some items they are there when you talk about change management, because for some projects you do not want change to be easy to implement. Because if you implement something in a software and does not work, it's a bug. Then you have a chance to solve it. But that's something that can be reversible. If you do something in a construction site or in a production line without thinking about this change, you might kill someone. That's not reversible. That's not something that you say, oops, guys, we need another sprint to fix this. We are, for some of those things, we are talking about lives, then you cannot just go like that and just throw away, let's do a short sprint planning here. Let's invest 4 hours to do this activity or to plan this sprint. And no, for some items, you don't want to have change. If you do a structure calculation for a bridge, you do not want someone like just there saying, I think it can be lighter. Let's change the type of steel that we are going to put here because I think it's better. No, you don't want that. You don't want people making trials like in airplanes. You want to extensively collect the requirements and you want extensively test everything to make sure there's no problems. Why? Because if there's a critical failure in your airplane, a lot of people might die because of that. It's a very different than like if you're doing an app, I don't know, an app to order a pizza. Okay, the person might not get a pizza. You are going to be annoyed, yes, but does not even compare for my airplane killing hundreds of people inside of it. So keep in mind that different boundary conditions affects a lot what you're doing, and have an open mind to the world around you, because there's a lot of people delivering value with Waterfall. There's a lot of people delivering value with Scrum. There's a lot of people delivering value with Kanban. There's a lot of people delivering value with lean management. Understanding all those things, it helps you to see, okay, how I can deliver more value as a project manager, because that's your goal. So Waterfall and Agile, they are different. Yes, they have their difference. Yes, but they have a huge amount of commonalities. That's why they're a project management framework and not something completely different. Again, triple C constraint in the projects every time is the same. How to develop a team, values and culture of the team, the same. Leadership principles that you need to work are the same. Okay, boundary conditions, they're going to be different. Yes, they're going to be different. But Scrum and Waterfall, they're not that antagonics. They have different approach for different situations. And your job as a project manager is understand the value in all those different things and apply it when it's more suitable. And then you can try to enhance the value in the project that you are doing. That's your job there. It's to solve a problem to deliver value. And if maybe 5 or 10 years from now, someone will come up with a better framework with to help with the artificial intelligence that will make everything better and will deliver much more value, it might be. And that might be the best framework that might fit everything. I don't know. But keep your mind open, keep learning, keep look for different ways. That's one of the things I always loved so much in being part of trainings and also conferences, because you see a lot of different industries talking about, and you get a lot of insights. Hey, but if this guy is doing it, he's in industry, I don't know, X, it might be that I can also do in mine. And then you also can look for different ways to bring value, but do not close your eyes and say Waterfall is the best thing that I can do for this industry. Like the same thing I see from software development, that they're closing their eyes and say Agile, Scrum, and Kanban, and the rest is a bunch of useless crap. Sometimes I see people working with construction, they say no, Waterfall and Agile, it's a bunch of crap that does not work, it's not realistic, and so on. Well, instead of saying that does not work, might be good to understand how I, or ask the question, how I can use that to bring more value from what I'm doing. Because that's going to help you as a professional. That's what's important for you. And keep discussing if they're antagonics, it's project management, guys. It's project management. A lot of those things, like how much of project management is about leadership and teamwork, team development. A big part of it. Then you cannot tell me that uh, waterfall and agile, they are completely antagonics. They cannot be opposed in the spectrum. Yes, again, I know that they have different ways to execute it. They have different approach for execute something, or different ways why they try to bring value. But again, different constraints, different boundary conditions will require different approaches. Remember, every project is unique, so it's quite important if you are if you understand that and make sure that you harvest as much value as you can, looking for all types of frameworks. And then, of course, learning something will always help you, because every time I'm studying waterfall, or every time I'm studying maybe Scrum or Kanban or Lean, you can start to look for interrelations. You see things, you start to look for things, different perspectives, different points of view, and it helps you first to better understand, but also helps you to look for different ways where you can look for value for the company that you are working on. And that's quite it's important. And again, ultimate goal of any project is delivering value. So your job there is looking how you can deliver more value for your company, how you can make your project deliver more value for your company. That's the right question you should ask. Not if it should be waterfall or should be Scrum. Then it's always what's the best way to deliver the highest value possible. Well, if you like this content, let me know what you think about it. Clicking the button like here. If you have comments or if you have questions, please share here in the comments. I will always try to respond everything as much as possible. Also, if you like the content and you want to share with someone because you think it's relevant to them, please sharing always help. And then I would appreciate if you can do that. Also, if you want to follow my Instagram account, there I share also very short daily project management content from leadership spectrum, but also from more technical project management. I talk about Waterfall, I talk about Scrum, I talk about Kanban. And then if you are interested on that, I believe that can be very helpful. Also my Instagram, I have a Q&A box that's open every day in my Instagram stories. So I hope you like it. I hope to hear you. I hope to hear from you soon. And thank you very much and see you soon. Bye.